it's not about everybody moving to the same place. It's about everybody taking a step forward from where they currently are. You shouldn't be trying to do everything yourself because realistically, you're not the smartest person. There are people that do this better than me. Why don't I just work with them and we both benefit? The danger there is you don't want to end up with just a whole team full of clones, right? You want people to have their various quirks, and you're only good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
And you need to accept that. Forget about being a salesperson and just be a problem solver. If you can do that, sales becomes so much easier.
You're listening to Beyond Growth with Rayan Fernando.
Ryan,
Hi,
welcome to Beyond Growth, mate. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you very much for having me.
That's good. And look, last time the tables were turned, so it's my turn now.
That's payback. That's fair enough. I feel like I was kind, so...
No, you were very kind.
Yeah. If you could return the favour, that would be great.
No, that was fun. And what I'm referring to is, I guess my first Finders Live experience, which I jumped on as a sponsor, which was fantastic. And we had a bit of a little recording session at Natural Velocity. They was not Fed Square. I keep calling Fed Square for some reason. Docklands, yeah.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
Good setup. Obviously great sponsors, great. The event was really good. I think every time I've done them, I've tried to kind of take it to that next step up. The last event was definitely the best of the three. Not to say the others weren't great, but it was good to have like a really good set of people. Very happy for Sam to take out the win as well. That was Wayfarer is an incredible concept in general.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And it was just one of those things that it's something like as a able-bodied person, you don't even think about, and then, so what she's doing is really, really cool. So interestingly, I'm watching her journey on LinkedIn and seeing where she's going, which is cool. But I must admit, one thing that did come up quite a bit was people coming up to me going like, we go to other founders events and they're like here, and then Founders Live, they're like here. So I'm not sure you ever get that feedback, mate. But look, that was my first. I had no comparison. So I'm just like, it was a really good event. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I think I really look at Amazon as I would listen to Amazon being the perfect business model, right? And I think about like when Jeff Bezos was at the helm, something that he used to say is like obsess over the customer experience. And for me, when I look at Founders Live, when I look at any kind of things that I get involved in, I really try and obsess over what is the experience like and just try and cover all of the angles and just experience it from the audience's perspective. And so I think that's the key. Like I'm never going to, get it perfect. Same as any venture. But I think when you really think like, what do people want to come and experience and how do you curate that experience? It becomes a lot easier to create something that people enjoy. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's kind of weirdly in the space I'm in at the moment, just doing events, but not Finders lifestyle events, but it is one of those things you think about, isn't it? So I think we'll come back to that one. But so founder of Toppin Group, you're the CEO of Evolved Ecosystems / Evolved Broker and co-founder of AutoFetch. You've had an amazing career along the way and now sort of doing a bunch of different things as well as Founders Live as sort of the Melbourne host. Mm-hmm. Is that the title for it for yourself?
City leader. Yep.
Yeah, city leader. Mate, do you want to give us a brief rundown, mate? What got you here today besides the amazing motorbike?
The transportation means. I'd love to. So my background, I've played a lot of sport. I was very, very sport obsessed growing up. I was a bit lost as far as kind of what I wanted to do. My mum really wanted me to go, typical Asian mum wants you to study and that kind of stuff, and I just had no interest in studying. But I did it to keep her happy, and finished school. Decided my granddad was a bodybuilding instructor. Decided to go down the personal training route. So did that. Managed some gyms for a little while. Learned a lot of skills. I think you really learn how to analyze people in that space when you're in high performing sports as well as in the gym and personal training. Honestly, the physical training side of things is 15% of the equation. The rest of it is mental. So really, I'm starting to understand that, and then going through a career in retail as well. I was in a group called Vita Group who franchised Telstra stores, and I I credit a lot of the things that I've been able to achieve post Vita Group back to Vita Group. I just learned so much from that organization, how to structure an organization. One of the key things I learned coming out of that organization is people will always outperform if they feel like they're part of something larger than just themselves. If they truly understand what part they play and how their part contributes to the whole of the vision, what the vision is, how we're going to get there, and how their small, albeit contribution adds to the whole, people will go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I really learned that from that organization. So I was with them for 6 years or so. We moved to Sydney. I started at Stratton Finance, knew very little about the finance space, had to learn that as quickly as possible, learned an absolute bucket load there, and ended up as a senior sales leader there by the time I left. So I was with Stratton for 7 years. And then that's when I went out of my own, and I had the opportunity to start up an asset finance business. But I didn't want that to be my legacy, that I had left Stratton, started my own asset finance business, and then the likelihood is I probably could have taken a few brokers once I was on my feet. I just didn't want that to be Ryan left and then he took all the brokers and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to kind of create my own pathway. Will I start an asset finance business at some point? Probably, but I feel like enough time has passed now that it wouldn't feel like a direct attack, etc. And so now I've had the opportunity to work with some incredible people in the finance space. Just a minor correction, I'm COO for the Evolved group. So my role is kind of GTM, kind of really making sure that we go to market properly, making sure the internals are working, making sure we've got the right partnerships, et cetera, et cetera. AutoFetch is a new vehicle buyer's agent. So we do for new cars what buyer's agents do for houses, make the whole process a lot more seamless for customers. And then Toppin Group, I still do some consulting. I have held on to a few of my clients, not many. But my predominant focus is the Evolved ecosystem and AutoFetch at the moment. So that's the high level kind of how we got to where we are now. And Founders Live, I think we'll probably go into it a little bit, but Founders Live was one of the offshoots of me kind of really analysing my business model. What was I doing in the partnership space to kind of add to people's networks and help them grow and expand their network and their journey. And that's how the Founders Live journey came about.
Awesome. Lots to dig into there, mate. But and I mean, I suppose right now in the Evolve group, what's the sitting there in the go-to-market point of view? What are you seeing? As in, and I guess firstly, just to clarify, what does Evolve Group do, so that we kind of have a context as well?
There's three kind of core pillars. So we are building a CRM for mortgage brokers. An operating system. That's one pillar, so it's Evolve Broker. We have Podcast Academy, which, as you would experience, podcasting, this is the easy part. Sitting down, having a chat, having a good conversation, that's the easy part, right? It's when you click stop on the recorders, that's when all the work actually starts. The editing, the processes, making sure that the subtitles are correct, getting the clips done, getting the posting done, et cetera, and that's honestly what kills podcasts. Is just the admin that goes into it afterwards. So we've built an automated system that you can upload your podcast and everything else is done. It'll do the clips, it'll do the editing, it'll do the posting, you can schedule, it'll do everything. And if you're not happy with the clip that it's chosen, you can regenerate and it'll do it all itself. So basically you can take the editing process down from however many hours it's currently taking down to probably 10 minutes. And you'll get 15 clips that you can spread across socials, etc. So we've built that out. And then we've got Evolved Investor, which there's probably worth me staying a bit tight-lipped on kind of exactly what is happening in that space, but there's some exciting things that will come out from there just around making good decisions with money and utilising tech to help put people in kind of better trajectory than potentially that they're on with the financial space as well. So that's the ecosystem. Where we're at the moment, I think every business or people that are connected to business are cognizant that at the moment we're at like the the junction where if you're not considering automation, you're not considering AI and what it can do for your business, you're probably you've got a bit of a ticking kind of clock on how long can your business model survive. And that's not I'm very conscious of my words there. It's how long can your business model survive, not your business, because, you know, there will still be businesses operating on a kind of analog framework for years and years to come. But your current business model, you should really be challenging it at the moment. So the mortgage broking space is such an interesting one because there's so much tech. Like aggregators have so much tech and there's so many cool things that are happening at the moment. The issue is most of them are not connected. They don't talk to each other. There may be one bit of tech that worked really well on this, but it stands alone. And then once that's done, you need to, you know, extract the information and go into the next bit of tech, et cetera, et cetera. So just creating a seamless experience for both customer facing and broker facing is our focus at the moment. Trying to make sure that we're giving customers, the end users, the best possible experience, because like the whole mortgage, like it's a nightmare, right? And plus you feel naked as a customer. Like you've exposed everything, every dollar you've spent in the last year, everything. There's nowhere to hide. Arguably, mortgage brokers have more information about their customers than even their accountants do. That's a pretty interesting position to be in, considering to be a mortgage broker, you can turn that around pretty quickly. So we're just trying to make sure that we elevate the industry to make sure customers are getting great experiences, that brokers have got the tech that they need to facilitate great transactions, because it's for most people, it's the largest purchase they will make in their life is the property they live in or their investment property. So that's what our focus is. It's being part of a tech build. I'm not sure if you've been around one before, but they're a nightmare, like tech builds, especially if you don't fully understand the tech or how it all connects, and the coding and the security, you know, the ISOs and the SOC 2s and all that kind of stuff, the compliance and blah, blah, blah.
That would make it so much more complicated.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's 100% essential, because the last thing you need is, you know, 600,000 customers' data, you know, hitting the dark web or whatever. But it's essential. Just it creates complexity, obviously.
No, absolutely, and it's I'm sort of actually dealing with a mortgage broker at the moment as well. But absolutely, you do feel naked because you do share so much information just to try and get approval. And then if you're a small business owner, which myself and my wife is, as well as working part time and things like that, so it turns into a bit of a nightmare trying to get finance. So it's, you have to almost open up even more and go like, oh, this is, you know, here's the company, here's everything, right? So
yeah, and I think that's like I mentioned about obsessing over the customer experience previously, and you know, this is I'm saying it as a fact, not as a judgment, but mortgage brokers will still send customers a PDF form to fill out, which the customer will have to sit there and take an hour to fill in all of the blue boxes that are on this PDF form, one after the other, right? And sit there and do it, and have to send them manual bank statements and download this and upload that and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And that process hasn't changed since early 2000s, right? Since when it moved from everything having to be done pen on paper and then faxed in or whatever, it hasn't really moved since then, which is worrying, because in 2026, if we're still doing that, there is much better ways to do it, and very simply as well. So the customer experience needs to be obsessed over, because if you've got customers sitting there for an hour filling in manual forms, and as the mortgage broker or as any business owner, you're kind of sitting back just waiting for the customer to do the heavy lifting, that's a business model that will definitely be challenged by AI in the very near future.
Which was going to be my questions specifically. Actually, was like, so how is AI sort of challenging that at the moment? I mean, it's challenging a lot of spaces, right? Like you said, you've got a lot of business models there are getting challenged with this, and either you adapt and learn and grow with it, or I mean, like you said, the models are changing, but not businesses. But how's that impacting that space?
So we have partnered with some incredibly intelligent people. Again, I think when I think about my general business kind of philosophies around partnerships and people, you shouldn't be trying to do everything yourself, because realistically, you're not the smartest person out there. You may be, and I say this about businesses when I consult to them, Generally, businesses are started by people who are subject matter experts in the thing that they started the business in. All the other things that are connected around it, they're not subject matter experts in. And I understand the capital constraints that force business owners to, wear different hats and all that kind of stuff. But you have to consider the end product. Is it going to be as premium as you need it to be if you're doing it yourself? So we have partnered with Effie, who are a mortgage broking platform. We've partnered with Loan Options AI, Julian and his team. And that's our secret power kind of thing. It's not that it's a secret, we tell everybody about it, but the idea is you get people who know the ins and outs of this and you work very closely with them. And so now, for example, with the Halo technology, which is Loan Options technology that we have partnership with, instead of a 45-minute hour form, your home loan application should take you 5 minutes. We call it a 5-minute fact find. Realistically, that's just the front end. You will probably need to add another 5 to 10 minutes on. But instead of filling everything in, you can take a photo of your driver's license and it will fill in all of your personal details for you. You can upload your bank statements and it will do all of your expenses, your income, your liabilities, et cetera, all pre-populated. It will connect to your Equifax, your credit file. It will pull all of your open liabilities. And then you just need to go and tidy up the details. So rather than needing to add in everything manually, it's all pre-populated. And that tech wasn't available 5 years ago. Yeah. Now it's available. It's secure and it looks slick. It works really, really well. There's no excuse, realistically. So so your question was how is it kind of challenged the business model? It's on its head.
Yeah, right.
Genuinely. So, which is great for the customer. Like if you think about it, you've saved your customer 55 minutes. That's not a bad turnaround.
And that's the thing. I think I speak to a lot of business owners now that are doing a lot of that manual stuff, and it literally is having those 3 or 4 different data sources and trying to compare notes and things like that, right? And I'm simplifying it, but ultimately it's like, okay, we're billing this, we're paying this, and this is what's in a system. Like, I'm like, why are you spending hours trying to cross-check that stuff? Because the tech stand's it's not like expensive tech either. Like you can do it quite well, and with some data control and discipline in that space, you can definitely do it in a safe way as well.
Correct. Yeah, discipline's the key there because, the last thing we want people to do is hear this and go, I'm going to upload everything into ChatGPT.
Yeah, that's it.
Like, no, don't do that.
Don't
go that route. But there are things out there that are going to make business owners' lives a lot more simple, going to make customer experiences great. So, look into it. I think I've said this a few times in the last couple of weeks, but everyone is at a different place with everything, right? With your AI adoption, with your moving your business into the 2027, 2028 kind of space. Everyone's at a different place. It's not about everybody moving to the same place. It's about everybody taking a step forward from where they currently are.
Yeah.
So as a business owner or as a, somebody who's whatever, just starting to learn something that you don't fully understand right now. That's one step forward. And understanding how that can help your business or how that can move you forward to whatever it is that you're looking for. It's just about taking those one step forward. Once you've taken that and you've understood, right, this is the impact, this is how I'm going to execute on it, okay, then you take the next step forward, etc. So it's not about sprinting to becoming AI native or being able to do everything automated and cut humans out of the process. Like you shouldn't be thinking about that, but you should be thinking about how do I take one step forward.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think that's kind of the phase I'm in at the moment. But it's also, I find in what I do, I sort of look at AI and I'm using different tools like Claude and ChatGPT and Copilot in certain spaces. But I find like it's kind of like, because it's not having it's just me, right? So the impact's not huge, and I'm not getting sort of performance improvements across a multiple team, that kind of value prop. So I tend to sort of just like start and stop a few different things. And I think that's a common space with a few business leaders out there, kind of like try a few different things. But to your point though, I think it is it is a step forward every single time. And then it's just how do you go deep into something as well? Because not only do we have this great amount of technology that we can utilize in our business and our personal lives and make our lives a lot easier. Learning that technology is also not that hard. Like back in the day when there was a new something that came through, it took some specialists to do it. And fair enough, there's a lot of specialist work that happens in the AI space as well. But for the average user, you can quickly ramp up, can't you? Like it only takes a weekend and all of a sudden you kind of, working in Claude co-work and getting yourself much more efficient. It's incredible.
Yeah, you can use the tools to teach you about the tools.
Yes,
right?
and
that's a key difference. I think previously, when you think back to the 90s and 2000s or whatever, you used to get the, whatever.
The manual.
CD, the manual that came with it, a CD or whatever, and you had to, just follow the steps and blah, blah, blah. Now you can, interact with it and ask. And I think the move currently, the way that most people view or are using AI is as a glorified Google, right?
Yeah.
Asking it questions, it's answering questions, and it's saving you time on the research. The next step, you hear the term all the time, is agentic AI. So you move from, like an LLM, which is, the ChatGPTs of the world, Claudes, etc., which is, it's just a question and answer type of setup. And then you move into agentic AI, which is, it's just it's a digital employee, right? So it's doing something for you, and then you can use that to then speed up your processes. The simple use case is replying to emails, for example. So you can have it read an email, reply, so draft the reply, and then obviously you want to edit it or whatever. Just little things like that to remove repeatable tasks in a business that are wasting business owner time by the time you've read it. Taking the time to reply, etc. If you're doing that 100 times a day, obviously that all adds up, and you might have some templates and whatever. But the email agentic AI is a really simple kind of case. There's some things that you can then follow that rabbit hole down and use the AI to build you tools. So get it to research the specific things that you're trying to achieve. Present use cases. These are the 3 things that are available on the market, et cetera, and then you can use it to build those tools for you. Now, obviously, there's some guardrails you probably need to put around that. Nerlep the other day said use AI to start at the edges and work your way into the core. So don't expose customer data, don't expose sensitive data, et cetera. Use it on the edges and work your way in, which is a really great way of looking at it. But so for me, I definitely don't consider myself an AI expert. I'm far from, and there's that saying about if you're the smartest person in the room, change rooms. I find that I'm the dumbest person in most rooms that I occupy, which is a great place for me to be, because I'm constantly learning from people who know much more about it than I do. But my skill set historically is not in that space, and I think I bring in my skill set to that, as well as an open mind to learn, and that's where I become valuable to businesses. Whether it's the businesses I'm currently involved in, or businesses that I consult to or work with, et cetera. Combining those skills, I think, is where you find magic.
Absolutely, mate. Totally agree, and I think it's also changed the dynamic in. We talk about having the right people in the team and the right people in the bus and all that sort of thing, and I think. I find more and more now that what AI can do for a company and a business and a team is really shifting, I guess, the value of who you have in that seat, because all the sort of menial tasks that keep people busy, those tasks are disappearing, and then the value is that exceptional work that we can do as humans, right? So we've got pretty powerful brain, and to be able to tap into that. And are you seeing that change happening from like when you're consulting with people and speaking to people? That, okay, when they're hiring someone, it's a little bit less about know-how, a little bit more about who they are and what they can achieve.
Yeah, so I've always considered recruitment as culture fit and role fit. There's two specific buckets you need to analyze. Does this person bring the right attitude, work ethic, the way that they approach life, ethics, et cetera, et cetera? Do they bring that? Do they fit into our culture? The danger there is you don't want to end up with just a whole team full of clones, right? You want people to have their various quirks and see the world differently, because that's where great ideas come from. If everyone sees exactly the same thing.
Just give me 30 seconds. If your business is serious about certification and trust, you need to check out ISO 365. They make ISO compliance simple, practical, and sustainable by building your ISO systems inside the Microsoft 365 tools you already use. No extra software, no hidden license fees, just real control and ownership of your compliance. I love the work that ISO 365 does because they don't just hand you templates and walk away. They become part of your team as virtual compliance officers, guiding you from gap assessment through to certification and long-term compliance. If you want compliance that actually works for your business and helps you win trust and new contracts, check out ISO 365. And now back to the show.
Terrible because you're not going to find any innovation. And then role fit, obviously there are some core skills that you need somebody to have to fulfill in a specific role. The question being, do I see people hiring more for culture fit? The answer is not yet, because I think Australia in general, we're not as automation AI forward as the rest of the world just yet. You know, typically we're 5 years behind the rest of the world on everything else. But I think it's becoming part of the thought process for organizations now is what roles are we unlikely to have in 12 months, 24 months, 5 years, whatever. So they're thinking about it, but they haven't implemented the tech as yet. So to make those decisions this early on is probably not happening, but you've definitely seen it enter the consciousness as opposed to the execution phase.
Yeah.
It's probably the easiest way to answer that question.
No, it's fair. I think it's also, I think there's a bit of protection of the teams as well out there, right? We don't want to be replacing swaths of jobs and things like that, but it's definitely making people more efficient too, which is amazing, right? So
that's such an interesting position to be in though, right? We don't want to be replacing the jobs just because we don't want to hurt people's feelings is the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I say hurt people's feelings, I'm not being flippant with the fact that these people are paying mortgages and, you know, providing for their family and all that kind of stuff. But if you're a business owner, while considering people's feelings is a very empathetic pathway, what's good for the business is actually good for the people. So if the business, if the business is in a better position, the people will have more opportunity, et cetera, And I think it is important to have both of those parts of your brain operating because to just make a decision, I don't want to replace all of these jobs, et cetera, well, we're actually protecting people from things that we're just kicking the can further down the road. Because if you don't replace the roles or at least force the people to upskill in a structured environment, obviously I say force, provide the support that they require to do that, the training, et cetera. Basically what you've done is you've hamstrung them so that in 3 years' time, when you do finally replace them, they're
3 years behind.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, the whole world has moved forward and they've been still. Now they're in an even worse position. So it is an interesting position for people to be in. I think companies need to consider what is the long-term benefit to the business first. How are we creating an environment for these people to learn how to upskill? And if they're upskilling, they're bringing new skills and new perspectives to our business, which we're all going to benefit from. But it's an interesting, you can't, horrible thing to say, but you can't have empathy and emotion overruling the long-term benefit because everyone is affected negatively in that hypothetical case.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I'm sort of saying that more, I'm just not seeing the AI adoption being the thing at the moment. So it's not a thing. But I'm seeing, I work with definitely work with some companies that do, you know, the greater good for the business, and it's much more impactful for them when they have that mindset. But the common conversation becomes more onshore, offshore at the moment. I think we're still in that phase with a lot of the clients I work with. It's like, do we stay local or do we go offshore? So that's kind of the common one. That's not necessarily the same sort of real feeling of replacing people with robots, kind of quote unquote sort of feel, right? But no, it is interesting. But yeah, you can literally be the nicest person and then finish last, right? Like what's the point? And then in that point where if you're not adapting and moving, you're sort of you're staying still, and the way the world's going, staying still is pretty much going backwards right now.
Yeah, and rapidly.
Very rapidly. And look, that's the bit that I think is, I mean, frightening is the wrong word, but I do find, so like I said, I go through a sort of phase of like, okay, yep, I'm interested in this bit of AI. I'm going to muck around and got my and I did use Copilot to build my Copilot agent, that kind of stuff. Like, I totally agree. It's just the tools are there. You don't have to necessarily have to like go too deep to actually start doing some great stuff. But I do find like when I have my stints and then I'll get busy doing what I need to do from an EOS point of view or podcasting, whatever, and then it might be a few weeks. And then I'll speak to someone who's like hasn't stopped in that space. And they're like, oh, we're doing this, this, and this. But what I'm finding though more and more often is like the tools you start working with are so quickly made redundant by another tool. And that's like I've never had that. Like, not never had that, but it used to be longer cycles.
Correct.
You know, like you used to have an operating system of some sort. Okay, that's old now. We need to upgrade that. But now it's like, oh, yeah, well, no, ChatGPT. Don't use Chat. Just use Claude because Claude's got X, Y, Z. You're like, okay, and then like, what's the next one, right? So you kind of like, but I feel like jumping shifts a little bit easier too, right? It's not, because it's all spoken and typing and words, you're not really necessarily having to work, like it's not going from Mac to Windows, like bad example, but you know what I mean, like completely different operating system. You're using your common communication methods. So it's unreal.
Yeah, I previously we used to talk about analysis paralysis, right? Where you look at things so long that you don't actually do anything, and you can very easily fall into that trap at the moment, where it's always about keeping up with the Joneses, right? Like what's the latest and all that kind of stuff. Like the actual core problem you're trying to solve is how do I improve my customer's experience and how do I improve the efficiency of my business, etc. So jumping ship too quickly is actually not a great thing because you haven't given it long enough to actually impact the customer experience or whatever. And you don't need to be using the absolute latest, shiniest tool, whatever. You just need the tool that's impacting the customer experience and the business one step at a time. And I think that's the key. It's not about always using the latest tech. It's about improving the experience one step at a time. And I think if you can keep that frame, you will know when to change tools. You should always be looking at new tools, but I think implementing something new every week is just a horrible idea.
No, I totally agree. It's a good way to get nowhere fast as well. And it's, I don't know. What's the impact you're seeing from businesses processes point of view? Like I know you're sort of doing that stuff with the CRM for mortgage brokers. Do the processes and how they're documented and how they run through and work being changed with all this? I mean, silly question, really.
Well, no, it's not a silly question. So I'm going to try and answer it without getting myself into some hot water here. In my view, the tech is not the problem in this particular space. Collaboration is the problem. Mm-hmm. So there's tech out there that will make everybody's lives better. But if we don't allow people to use it for whatever reason, that's the problem. And we can't have a scarcity mindset where I need to protect my little patch of grass and I need to protect my customers because, they're going to go elsewhere and they're going to blah, 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 see better tech and whatever. You can't hold people back in this day and age. You have to consider, how do we collaborate openly in a safe environment, in an environment where everyone is going to benefit? And I'm not saying throw all the security manuals out the door or throw privacy out the door. What I'm saying is consider the fact that tech is moving so quickly. It shouldn't just be you who owns the IP. If you're prepared to share and prepared to collaborate, we're all likely to be in a better place as opposed to holding on to your customers and thinking, I'm just going to create this and my customers have to wait until this is available through me, et cetera, et cetera. That is probably the biggest area of opportunity in this specific industry that I can see at the moment. Is a scarcity mindset around I need to own the IP as opposed to I should be collaborating, and then we all move forward a hell of a lot quicker because, like you said, the tech is relatively quick and easy to build. connecting it is, you know, a little bit slower, but getting people in a room to sit and agree to the collaboration is actually what takes the time.
I feel like that's very, very specific to that industry. But look, I must admit, I've seen the other side of how valuable the collaboration is. Coming together and going, oh, this is good. Let's do it like this. Yep, that's a great way to do it. So yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think, I think fixing it is, how do you fix the scarcity mindset? That's the bit that, I mean, I know, and it's probably not the exact same comparison, but I know what it's like to be scarcity, in that scarcity mindset point of view. And it is hard to break. You know?
It is. So there's two ways that it will generally go. Number one is people will feel comfortable in their little scarcity mindset and I'm not going to do it. And they refuse to change. And what happens in that instance is their customers see things that are happening elsewhere and they just jump ship. And you end up with a much smaller piece of the pie because, you know, you've got some people who will never change because change is too difficult. They can't get past it themselves. And so they will stick around for forever. But you're going to stop attracting new people, which means that your business model has a 15-year time frame because, you know, once those people who, you know, refuse to change, once they retire or they sell their business or sell their books or stop operating, whatever, you no longer have a business model. They're gone. So that's one hypothetical route, at which point their scarcity mindset hasn't changed and they just fizzle out. You know, they become the Kodaks of the world, the Nokias, etc. The second potential outcome is they start to see the benefits elsewhere. XYZ and XYZ and XYZ have all, you know, started to collaborate and et cetera. I'm starting to see my customers move. I'm starting to see their returns. I'm starting to see the impact of their tech and et cetera. Okay, I don't want to be left behind. I now need to do it. At which point you've probably burnt 2 years of waiting to see the results. It's going to be very obvious what the results of collaboration are. I think tough to make an argument to say collaboration is going to hurt any industry. But you see it late and you adopt late, and then maybe the partners that are now available are not of the original quality, or maybe they're whatever.
Yeah.
That's the other way that people kind of get there, and they get there late and they're a little bit frustrated with it all, and then they're probably in a tougher pathway because now you're on the back foot. The third and idealistic way is they go, you know what? The future is in collaboration and we need to get there. How do we as an organization get comfortable with this? They have really robust internal conversations. They maybe make some tough calls around some senior leaders or some senior people in the business who don't have that mindset and allow them to go and seek excellence elsewhere. And then they open their minds to, right, let's go down this collaboration journey, you know, safely at a pace that's comfortable for us as an organization, etc. But hopefully we start to see more people in every industry, not just this specific one, go down that route because everybody benefits with that type of collaboration mindset.
No, absolutely. And I mean, this kind of leans into your partnerships mindset, isn't it?
Yep.
Like basically it's who you know and how you can build and grow with other people.
100%.
You know?
Yeah. So when I look at my core philosophies, like the 4 Ps, so people, processes, partnerships, the partnerships one is such an interesting one. Placement is the fourth one, sales and marketing, but partnerships is who you are doing what you're doing with. And that can be in a formal sense and an informal sense. You know, I'm not saying go and, you know, sign up partnerships, you know, immediately. You need to take your time. You need to court the business. You need to really understand, you know.
You don't want to make it transactional.
Correct. Yeah, you really need to understand how do they operate and what is their vision and what's under the hood. Getting into partnerships too quickly can be a terrible idea as well. It's like, you know, jumping into marriage before you've dated somebody. Like you need to kind of go through that process.
There's a whole TV series.
Yeah. I'm not going to make comments on your entertainment choices.
Don't watch it. I just know it exists.
Yes, yeah. But you have to be considering what's the end outcome that I want here. And likely the end outcome is I want the best product, I want the best customer experience, I want the best, most efficient business model, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're honest with yourself, you're not going to do that. You're only good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
And you need to accept that. Be humble enough to go, there are people that do this better than me. Why don't I just work with them and we both benefit? And that's a life hack, realistically. You know, talk about choosing a partner is about how do you both make each other better. Your friendship group, you know, everyone's parents have said, you know, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you really are. Like, we know it. But applying it to business is something that I feel like a lot of people have to get taught, because they forget, they go insular, they go internal. When they start a business, I need to do everything myself, which is, you know, understandable. But you need to break that mindset if you truly want to get to, you know, whatever it is that your business goal is.
I totally agree. Look, I find that it's the one that you get stuck in that insular mode, you know, and I've been there. But I also see the value in the partnerships now, but that's taken years. Like, I think me in my 30s back in the day was like, not that long ago. But it was me, like, being very insular and kind of just feeling like it's just me against the world. And it's sort of common mindset piece and breaking part, but then also goes back to its partnerships, which also leads into the collaboration, right? Because if you go in there, it's amazing what you can create. And that's what I'm finding now more and more in this, my new sort of business I'm running and company I'm running. It is that how important is those connections are, you know, and they make you, I don't know, like for me, it makes my work more meaningful too. It's just not me trying to achieve something. I'm trying to achieve something for a whole, you know, for Geelong, for example. Like, I'm doing stuff for the Geelong Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really enjoying that because I feel like, okay, I'm adding value in not just one way, but breaking through that insular mindset, like that sort of multiple hats, I must do everything. And I mean, if you go into business and you just basically starting your own job, it becomes a job, and then it's, I don't know, it's tough.
I think it brings out the best in you as well. If you're a true partner, you're concerned not about what you're receiving from the partnership, about what you're bringing to the partnership.
Yes.
And it creates this fire in you that may have, you know, whittled out a little bit while you were doing it for yourself, because it's like, okay, it's just me that's kind of affected. If I'm in, you know, second gear, I'm in second gear. But now if you have that partnership mindset, you're like, you know, no, my partners deserve the best version of me. To them, no one's at 100% every day, but as much as I can possibly bring. And I think that's so important, because now you're doing it for them and for you, and you've got added incentive to be at your best and to continually evolve and push yourself forward and that kind of stuff. And so, like with Evolve, for example, how I got involved with Evolve. So Julian from Loan Options AI and I had done a podcast together. We've done a couple, and Victor, who is the CEO for and founder of Evolve, watched the podcast, and he has done a podcast with Julian as well. And then he reached out to me after kind of seeing it and see how I communicated, what my philosophies were and that kind of stuff, and just, you know, started a conversation. And I was listening to one of your other podcasts recently just around that networking, right? And networking with purpose.
Yeah.
And connection with someone who you feel like, okay, this person communicates similarly to me or have similar worldviews to me, or business or ethics, etc. And that law of attraction. And then, okay, well, let's understand how do we both fit in. And that's how you can choose really good partnerships. And moving forward with the rise of AI, you know, podcasts and all those kind of stuff, long form content is going to be how people choose partnerships moving forward, because everything is so quick and transactional that people are going to want to understand, who are you as a person? What are your philosophies? And they can go to podcasts and they can go to long form content, etc., and understand you a little bit better. And it really helps to open up those partnerships. If the only way that someone can meet you or know more about you is by meeting you in person, you've dramatically shrunk the circle that you will attract. And I'm not a huge advocate for social media for many reasons, but one of its positives is that it allows you to attract similar people, if you're using it consistently and in an effective, it doesn't have to be perfect, but in an effective manner, it really will open up the opportunities that you can bring to yourself.
Totally, mate. And look, I mean, that's the reason I started this podcast, right? Like I found that I love meeting people, but there's only so much finite time I have to spend meeting people and going to events and things. As much as I love, we've got family and other things we need to do. So it is interesting you say that. So I find that really valuable. And I think, and I love it. I love when someone, so I've had one podcast, Leanne Taylor is probably the perfect example. So she did a sales podcast with me a few weeks back. But that one podcast has connected her to so many different people. And then I use that as a reference point to go listen to that one. You might want to speak to Leanne and things like that. And she's meeting other people from other episodes. So it is interesting. And look, I think I do get lost in the reels and the things, and it's too much. And I think even LinkedIn has become too, there's a lot of AI there, like the postings. Well, some of the postings, most of the postings are AI driven, but then some of the answers are like comments are too. So like, where are the humans? So yeah, it's really nice to have that, and it's a good way. And I love that story with how it all came together,
Yeah, Victor reached out to me, and it was, I think everyone has a different belief in or understanding of energy and attraction and frequency, etc. But I think there's definitely a baseline that the whole world kind of subscribes to. Some form of what you put out is what you will receive.
Yeah.
And we've had an incredible amount of examples, tangible examples, where we've made conscious decisions to go down a certain path or not go down a certain path, and we've attracted the right things to us by choosing those pathways. And that happens in life, whether you choose to notice it or not. It happens in business constantly. But if you're making good decisions with good people over an appropriate amount of time, good things will happen. And I think, it is important to call out that time is very, very important. Having a good relationship with time. Everyone wants to be at the end of the journey or further down the journey, but the lessons you're learning now, you will need at some point in the future, and you won't be able to overcome those hurdles down the track unless you've gone through these challenges. Now they're teaching you things that you need to know. You just have to accept that that's part of the journey. Everyone wants to, be at the end, but there's a journey that's required there.
It's like you're speaking to me on that one. Because I'm literally in that space where I'm just like, man, as much as like I don't think there's an end per se, but like I feel like I'm always like, I wish I was 2-3 years in the future.
Yeah.
And, but like you said, the whole idea is the journey, and what I'm doing this year compared to what I'm doing last year and how I'm growing, and especially in this EOS space is so interesting. And the stuff I'm doing this year, I'm like, oh, cool. But I can only do it this year because of what I'd spent in the last couple of years.
Correct.
Right? If I try to do what I'm doing now, even the podcast, like I had this gear set up for like almost a year and a half, and I'm like, I only started it a year, like last year. So it's amazing. That journey is what gives you the experience, the courage, the know-how, the love to want to go, okay, cool, I can do this now.
Correct. Yeah, it's so important to have that drive, right? To have the I want to be further, because
totally
otherwise,
agree.
Correct. Otherwise, you sit and don't do anything.
Yeah,
you just wait for things to happen. That's not how frequency works, right? You can't turn a vehicle unless it's moving, right?
Yeah.
But that's the point. You start moving, and then things are likely to start happening. And that's when you build the momentum, and one thing leads to another. Like this year's success is because of last year's work, and continue that journey, et cetera, et cetera. You're putting down the seeds now. They will come to fruition. You just need to continue putting in the actions and give it the time. But that drive to want to be further down the path is actually what will get you there.
Yeah.
You just need to accept that you need to have a good relationship with time.
Yeah, and that's one of my mates, David. He sort of summed it up, saying like you spend most of your time planting, and it's only a short period of time where you're actually reaping. and then you just go back to planting again. Like it's just like the farm analogy. I'm like, oh, that's so true. Like you're just planting at the moment, right? And you just got to understand that, yep, the reward will come, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a reward forever.
Correct.
You just got to keep going. And it's
and you also need to enjoy where you are as well, right?
Yes,
like there's a level of being comfortable that I'm actually comfortable with the planting phase, because I can still enjoy my life and I can still enjoy the process of it. If I'm always thinking of there was a great saying that depressed people live in the past, anxious people live in the future, content people live in the present. And that having that understanding that it's okay to not be down the track, I can still enjoy the process of it, and that changes things, because then all of a sudden you don't feel guilty for not working 24 hours a day, because if you were, family's going to suffer, your mental health is going to suffer, your physical health is going to suffer, and then you become less efficient anyway. You're better off having the break and getting away from the screens or getting away from the work, etc. Go and enjoy some time outdoors or time with a family, or invest. Like one of my good friends just over this weekend came over from Perth and said, as he's gotten older, he's realized that investing time in friendship is so valuable. Yeah. And you don't realize it, because especially when you're young, when you're in your career years or whatever, you just think you have an infinite amount of time. And then when things happen in your life, or you lose certain people, or some things don't go the way that you originally thought they were going to go, you reflect and you think, what is actually important? And those moments that you spend with people that you care about, and those people who really fill your cup, are so important. So investing in that will probably move your business forward more than just sitting and grinding in front of the computer or Zoom or whatever. Like, you know what, nah, stuff it. I'm going to take this week off. I'm going to go and visit XYZ. I love spending time with them, or, make time for the family, or make time for your parents if you're still lucky enough to have them. And those kinds of things, they really do make a massive difference to what you're able to achieve, because now your purpose is tied to tangible things. When I can achieve this in my business, I will be able to spend more time doing these things, which I'm spending some time doing now, and I genuinely enjoy, and they add agency to my life as well. So there's some life lessons in there that you can tie to business that will actually move your business forward significantly.
No, absolutely, mate. And it's we do sort of have the blinkers on, don't we? Sometimes, and we sort of focus on the one thing, and you kind of let a whole bunch of things go. And it's like you said, good to be driven. I think I totally agree. And I do get a little bit hyper focused every now and then. And but yeah, I think there's some valuable words there, mate. Absolutely, totally agree. And what I'd love to go into is, I'd love to talk about your third pillar, mate, placement, because I've sort of turned into a bit of a sales hack over the years, and not a hack.
You've turned into a sales hack.
Oh, I just love the art of sales.
Okay, yeah.
And sort of that marriage of sales and marketing and how it works. And I'd just like to get your take on it, because I know we're talking about people, we've talked about processes and partnerships, but it'd be great just to delve a little bit into that space and see how you take it.
I believe sales and marketing are two sides of the same coin, right? Marketing is what happens before the sale, and without the marketing, you can't have the sale, right? The worst thing that could possibly happen is you're the best kept secret.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Worst thing that could ever happen, because that means that the most popular products on the market are very often not the best products on the market, right? But they are the best marketed. Human beings, I don't know the exact figure, but there's a sickening amount of advertisements that we see on a daily basis, right? And if you watch the F1, if you watch, any kind of sport, like you look at an F1 driver's uniform, like there is no space left for any other form of advertising. They are covered head to toe. The cars are covered head to toe. You watch the NBA, the NBA floors have, they generally have a key sponsor on their floor and then their own logo. But then during the game, they will CGI other logos onto the court. which is different sponsorships, etc., because they figured out that if we print someone's logo on the court, that's the only one that's there. But if we can rotate, like every quarter, have a different sponsor on there, and now all of a sudden we 4 times the amount of advertisements that we can have. And soccer's had it for years. The background, they will just superimpose someone else's logo around the etc. So marketing, and it took me a long time to figure this out. When I was in a sales organization a couple of times, both Vita and Stratton, I think the relationship between the sales teams and the marketing teams are often strained because, marketing, they see things differently, and they're creatives, and creatives and salespeople don't generally go hand in hand, because salespeople typically are these fast twitch muscle fiber, always on the go, 24 coffees a day type of like, go, I need a hustle. And marketing people are generally more creative, and, creatives are generally a little bit like, stop and smell the roses kind of thing. They still hustle hard, but they just see the world slightly differently. And I often see tension between those two functions within a business. I think it's healthy to have some tension between the functions, but you have to have some harmony there as well. Both parties need to understand how we're speaking to customers, and that's the key pillar that ties them together, is how do we speak to customers? Because if there is one congruent tone that flows through marketing, and then once the customer comes into the top of funnel, and then the sales are speaking the same language and they're getting the same experience, it feels very comfortable for a customer to go through that. If what they experienced pre-funnel and post speaking to a salesperson, they're very different. Customers on a subconscious level at minimum will pick up on it. Yeah. Worst case, they pick up on it on a conscious level, and they're like, "Oh, this feels a bit icky. I'm not a big fan,
something's not right
of this." Yeah. Correct. So that's the relationship that needs to be had between those two functions. In smaller organizations, often the salesperson, the marketer are the same person.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Or it's husband and wife, or partners, or whatever, business partner. One person does the Instagram post, the other person speaks to the customer, or they're doing both, whatever. But really understanding the tone is probably the key. What is the message? What is the problem that we are solving for customers? If we continue to understand what is the customer's pain point and speak to that, it becomes much easier, because I think, if you've got this Wolf of Wall Street type of mentality where it's a real, Viking pillaging the customer type of, you're on opposite ends of the balance board with the customer, when in actual fact, a salesperson should be right next to the customer, really understand what is the reason that the customer is looking to do something. Yeah. In both asset and resi commercial broking, I hear this line all the time, and I see it all the time, and I understand why people say it, but also like think it through. We've got 100 lenders on our panel. It's like, great, well, you just told me about 99 that I will never use. I will only need one of them. Yeah. Why are you telling me about 100? As a customer, I don't give a stuff how many you've got on your panel. I only care about the one that I'm going to be with. Ask me questions that's going to give you the answers to where am I going to be best serviced, because outside of that, I don't care about all of these others. And I think if sales people, if sales organizations, if marketing messaging can all focus around what problem are we solving for this customer, and if we're solving 5 different problems for the customer, excellent. Don't talk about all 5 at once. Just put them into bite-sized chunks so the customer can process them. I'm not a fan of option selling, and I know in the mortgage space it's required. It's an actual legislation. You have to do it. But again, like if you've asked me enough questions and you understand me well enough, just tell me the one that suits me the best. Don't confuse me with other options, because I will only be able to choose one. Don't give me 3. I don't need 3. I just need one, the right one. And that's the key for sales, is truly understanding what is the pain point, what is the customer's buying signals, where are they at in their journey, and at that point you're on the journey with them. Yeah, they will buy from you when it suits you. Okay, if you're getting paid commission, monthly cycles or whatever, it's really important to you that it has to be done in this month. The customer doesn't care if it settles on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, whether it's the 30th of the month or the customer doesn't care.
Yeah.
So just go on that journey with them and be at their pace. I'm not saying, go slowly. I'm just saying go at their pace. Some people want to sprint, some people want to walk. But forget about being a salesperson and just be a problem solver. If you can do that, sales becomes so much easier.
Absolutely. And I look, it's I see that all the time, that misalignment between sales and marketing, and sometimes the misalignment's with the same person, which always throws me out. But no, mate, I love the way you put that together, and I think going and doing what you do best, and then servicing your customer and that customer experience you keep speaking about, which I think that is something that's often forgotten. I think we sort of are very much like, how is this going to work in our system? What are we going to do this? But then you sort of forget about like, we haven't spoken to the customer for 2 weeks, like customer experience. I think that taking that mindset of like, how are they going through the journey? Like you said, top of the funnel all the way to having that conversation is so important. And how does this, like a founding company, a startup, how do they navigate that? Because I think when you think about a startup and what they're going through and what they're working on, sometimes either they're really good at that space or they're completely ignoring it.
I think it goes to what problem are you solving, and solve that, then move on to the next problem. When you try and solve 5 problems in one, that's where and we've learned this on our journey with Evolve as well. We've got we will do a huge amount of things and they will all be successful. I think the problem we had is we tried to do them all at the same time.
Yeah.
At which point, and we were very conscious of it as well, but we backed ourselves in, we'll be able to do this and blah, blah, blah. And then for one reason or the universe just teaches you, like, hey, just humble yourself a little bit. You're not as good as you think you are, just one step at a time. And that's the key. Just solve one problem.
Yeah.
Because that's still one problem solved that the customer didn't have solved previously. And just because I say this about high performers, and that's in the doers and the thinkers as well, they often confuse capability with capacity. Just because you're capable of doing something, it doesn't mean you have the capacity to do it right now. Solve one problem, get it right, move on to the next problem, get it right, move on to the next problem. Then you have 3 problems solved perfectly is the wrong word, but very well, as opposed to 10 problems nearly solved.
Yeah.
I know what I would prefer.
Yeah. And then you have a pipeline in front of you, right? Like, I go, okay, cool. We've got 7 other things we're going to fix, and this quarter we're going to do this.
And you've got a community of people who already trust you. That's one of the most difficult things to do is build trust, which is why long form content is great, which is why marketing journeys are great, because you don't just get 10 seconds in a reel or a story or a post, whatever. You can build the journey one step at a time.
Yeah.
And if you've solved one problem for a customer, that customer is likely to listen to you when you say, hey, we also solved this. Now you don't need to build trust. And I think you see this all the time. People are so focused on attracting new customers in the front door, and they're losing just as many out the back door. If you continue to obsess over what are my existing customers, what are the problems that they're facing, customers are happy to give you more money and to buy more of your services. You look at Apple, right? Apple, the products are simple. They moved from doing an iPod into an iPhone, and then into a computer, and then into audio, et cetera, et cetera. They just solved one problem at a time. They got really good at it, and then they added. And then you were like, I trust Apple. People will blindly go and camp out the front of a store, having not seen or used or experienced the product as yet, but they will go and get it on day one because they trust the brand. That is such an important lesson for businesses. That if you can do a really good job at something, when you're solving the next problem, think about your existing customer base first, because they already trust you. They will give you UGC. They will give you additional feedback and make your product even better, at which point attracting customers becomes less of a problem.
And that you start to get that flywheel turning, don't you?
Mm.
Yeah. Now, mate, we've covered a whole bunch of different things, and it's been really good chatting. I think we could probably keep going and going on different things. But what's up? What's happening this year? What are you looking forward to?
This year, probably in buckets. So for Evolve, we really want to go to market and solve problems that brokers and customers are experiencing right now. We have gone into some deep testing phases at the moment. We probably pulled the trigger on trying to go to market too quickly, but we have slowed down. We want to get the core brokers on board and really seeing the benefits of the program.
Yeah.
First, then we'll continue to evolve it. Number two, auto fetch. We are in a kind of a growth phase at the moment. So just making sure that we're giving, again, customers great experiences, just making that process a little bit more seamless for them.
Yeah.
And then we've got some really exciting things kind of coming up in that space as well. I have a couple of other kind of side projects that I'm pretty confident that I will be able to close out or at least bring into life by the end of this year as well. And then also I'm looking forward to just taking a couple of breaks this year as well, which is something that I kind of stepped out on my own in 2024, and I accepted that, until 2026, I probably wasn't going to have any breaks. I was just going to, make sure that I was established, I had done the right thing by my clients and my customers, et cetera, and then I can consider having a couple of breaks. So I feel like I'm at that point now. So just have some downtime and to kind of pull away, let my mind refresh, and then go again.
Awesome, mate. Look, I think that's super important too. I think people forget that, but also the fact that you've set yourself an expectation. Okay, next couple of years, I'm just going to work hard at this. So well-deserved breaks for sure.
Yeah, I think you have to time it. Right?
Yeah,
I think it'll be, can you sustain it for that period of time? And if you can't, then great, book the break in.
Yeah.
But if you can, you need to lay the foundation, right? It's like, there's a reason why foundations go in the ground and then you build on top of them. It's because they need to be solid, and then you can build a really great structure on top of it. So that was important for me, that I wanted to just head down, make sure that things were set before I kind of took my focus away, just because it's the right thing to do by the business, by the people, etc. And then I feel that I can have a proper break. I feel like if I tried to break too early,
you wouldn't relax either.
Yeah, absolutely, right. You need to be where your feet are.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to, pull away too quickly, your brain is just still going to be where it was.
Yeah.
And you can't get the benefits of a break. So that's the plan.
Awesome, mate. Well, all the best for the rest of the year, mate. Good to chat. And just finally, if someone was listening to this and want to get in touch with you and speak a bit more, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
LinkedIn, probably easy.
Yep.
So I'm on there. Definitely not as active as I have been in the past, but LinkedIn is an easy way to do it. Otherwise, I'm sure there's, we have mutual connections that we're more than happy to connect
absolutely.
us.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, thank you so much, mate.
No, mate, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thanks.